2024 was one of the most transformative years of my life, and I am doing better than I ever have. I think a lot of my success has come from the tool of manifestation and creating a vision for what I want my life to look like. One of the most powerful tools of manifestation is speaking things into existence. So I must get extra points for making a YouTube video about it. Creating mood boards in real life or on Pinterest will help you visualize what you want your life to be like and help it manifest and come into existence. This video, I'm going to be talking style, tattoos, food, hair, exercise, and housing. So grab a snack, grab a little beverage, and let's chat about my goals for 2025 and what I'm envisioning my life to look like. Really fast, if you are new here, please subscribe. It helps me out loads, and I would love to have you. All right, let's do it. Let's start with style, because I know for the majority of you, that is what you care the most about. Every year, my fashion finds ways to evolve and mature with myself. I describe my current style as vampy, romantic, lacy, somewhat gothic, although the goths always get really mad at me when I say that. One of my favorite trends that I've had my eye on for 1 or 2 years now, and I've seen a lot more people talking about, is the medieval-inspired fashion revival. This can be characterized by long flowing fabrics, billowy beaded sleeves, boots, vests, layering, puff sleeves. However you would imagine a medieval princess to dress is sort of what's coming back. When we're talking about fashion history, this has come around before in the late 60s, 70s. Caroline Tucker talked about this in one of her recent videos, so go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. The 70s medieval revival happened at a time of political turmoil, very similar to what's happening now. People look to dress in fantastical ways to find escapism through their fashion. I don't completely understand our fascination with the medieval time period and those silhouettes, but I know that I definitely fall victim, that's not the right word. I definitely enjoy the style quite a bit and have been trying to emulate it in my personal wardrobe for a long time. This is when a lot of iconic brands were born, for example, Gun Sachs, which I own a few dresses of myself, and in more recent history, the Chapel Roan VMA's look comes to mind. She was dressed as Joan of Arc in complete armor, as well as more of a medieval princess look with a long flowing robe. I also think the media we consume ties into this. For example, I am a huge Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, The Witcher, I'm a fantasy lover. And I don't think I've ever seen a more beautiful woman than the women in these shows. I remember growing up in the 2000s and the 2010s, and adults in my life always talking about how small our clothes were, and soon we'd be wearing thongs as our shorts. And I think it's sort of interesting to see that trend cycle swing in the opposite direction to more modest clothes that cover our entire body, our entire arms. Of course, we never count the boobs in that scenario, but I just find it so interesting that we lean into the whimsical nature of old-timey clothes when we're in a state of unrest. I also think that there is a component to this where we have a lot of tech fatigue. TikTok has shortened our attention span to that of a goldfish. AI is taking over everyone's jobs. Everything is just digital and relies on the internet. I've seen people talk about this with magazine, newspaper, even analog photography. People are really feeling nostalgic for that type of media, which frankly I think is a beautiful thing. I don't want a Kindle. Give me stacks and stacks of books. There's definitely a regression happening towards the classics. Next up in style, I want to talk about chainmail. Again, continuing down the Renaissance-inspired fashion themes, chainmail has been all over my Pinterest, in accessory form as well as clothing. 2 shops come to mind, the first being Falconeer Shop and the second being Catholic Guild. They create these stunning handmade chainmail pieces, wear over your clothes to wear alone. They are very expensive, otherwise I would already own some. I've been specifically looking at this shoulder neck piece from Falconeer Shop. One day I will get my chainmail piece. You can also find a lot of vintage chainmail on eBay. I've really been wanting to get my hands on these 1920s flapper purses, and there's so many on eBay. I just haven't done enough research yet to find what kind I really want. They are just stunning, intricate pieces, and I think would pair perfectly with a lot of my outfits. In the same vein, let's talk about accessories. If you can't already tell by what I am wearing, I'm a huge, chunky silver girl. I'm a huge chunky silver girl. What am I saying? I am definitely a believer of more jewelry, the better. Personally, I wear as much as I can. I get a bit overstimulated having so much on my body. But I just remember growing up at camp and seeing girls with rings on every single finger, if not multiple rings. And I remember how cool I thought those girls were when they had bracelets going up to their forearms and layers of necklaces. I just thought that was the coolest you could ever possibly be. Is that personally somewhat of a nightmare for me? Yes, but I must persist to be cool. A lot of people ask where I get my jewelry. And again, you can find a lot of nice antique pieces on eBay. I just got these antique screw-on earrings. I have keloids on my ears, so I can't put earrings in anymore. But there are so many inexpensive jewelry options on eBay. I got my necklace at Village Silversmith in Salem with high quality silver. Honestly, your local silversmith or silver shops, jewelry shops, pawn shops even, will probably be your best bet to get high quality items. I recommend staying away from like the $10, 100 ring packs. Those will not even last you a day. I've also really been admiring chunky silver bracelets and cuffs. Typically, if they are real silver, they can get pretty expensive, so that's sort of why I haven't got one yet. But I just love the ornate look of them, and I feel they can really elevate outfits. Next up, vintage nightgowns. I am currently wearing my favorite one that I own. It is this 80s Olga nightgown. I wear this out of the house like a dress. It doesn't bother me. Of course, the fabric is a little bit thinner because it is a nightgown, but I just think it is so stunning. And I think I can pair this category with my gun sacks obsession. I have 2 gun sacks dresses and a blouse. And one of the reasons I love them so is because The Love Witch is my favorite movie. It came out in 2016, but I feel like it went under a lot of people's radars. The Love Witch is so beautiful. She's always wearing gun sacks dresses and Victorian-inspired hairstyles. The cinematography, the storyline, the music, the outfits, God, the outfits. It's a beautiful film. I don't completely understand my fascination with vintage dresses and nightgowns. I think a lot of it has to do with how the garments actually fit my body. Typically, they hug my curves in all the right places and give me this sort of ethereal vibe, which I do not shy from. Also, I just love attention. When I was wearing one of my gun sacks dresses out, I was taking the train and doing my normal things, and I could just feel people's eyes drawn to me like I was a magnet. I heard girls whispering about how beautiful my dress was, and so why not live life feeling beautiful? Next up, boots. If you are familiar with my content already, you know that I'm a big boot girl. I probably own, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? I think I own 10 pairs of boots, which is a little bit ridiculous. I just wear them year round, baby. I love boots. I think they're the coolest. Specifically, a style that I've had my eye on and don't own in my personal collection is sort of this heeled Victorian lace-up boot. When I tell you I have been on the hunt, I have seen a few vintage pairs on Poshmark and Depop. I am very tentative about buying secondhand shoes, especially if they're vintage. Every time I do, they end up falling apart after 2 wears. Even if I glue them or, I don't know, come up with ways to fix it, they're usually dry rotting, which means the sole will crumble, the base will peel off. It's just a bit of a mess. And I haven't found a modern version yet that really speaks to me. My holy grail boots, and apologies, I'm going to butcher this name, are from designer Anne de Muehlmeister, triple lace boots from fall winter 2008 runway. These are incredibly hard to find, and I've not come across them yet. They're this heeled knee-high boot with laces up the center of the shin and then smaller lace patches sandwiching the middle lace patch, if that makes sense. These boots are the coolest things I have ever seen. I need them in my wardrobe. I need them. Name your price and I will buy it, babe. I need these boots like I need water. I do want to give a shout out to a few of my influencer inspirations whose style I look to a lot for inspiration. The first being MJ. She loves a brown lipstick just as much as I do, and we have very similar makeup and fashion styles. You may have seen her on Reels or TikTok. She posts a lot of OOTDs similar to what I do. I really admire her street style. I also love Lil Rotini, aka Arabella. She is one of the most creative stylists I have ever encountered on the internet. She almost sees clothes as an art form, and I try and layer things as beautifully as she does. She just has a really stunning and unique fashion. And last shout out would be Amber Strickland. She wears a lot of vintage gowns bloodhounds with chainmail. And I also believe she lives somewhere in my neighborhood. Watching New York posts her quite a bit, and the pictures are taken on my street, so that's pretty cool. When looking towards the upcoming year, I really want to challenge myself to actually get dressed most days. Despite the content you consume of me on the internet, I typically am just wearing workout clothes while I'm home, or loungewear, just something comfortable. And not that that is a bad thing, because I think that's completely normal. But I do work from home, and I feel like I would be a lot more productive with my days and just feel better about myself if I put myself together. So we'll see if I reach that goal. But I have so many beautiful clothes, it is a shame to let them sit in my closet and go to waste. Next up, let's talk tattoos. So I currently have 5 tattoos that I've gotten in the past few years. I have this little tooth on my wrist, a butterfly on my bicep, a sun on my forearm, a little lion next to my butterfly, and the 3 of swords on the back of my arm. I'm a big tattoo lover, and I always have been. I can't describe to you the sense of joy I felt after finally getting my first tattoo. They make me feel so much more myself and help me really admire the body that I'm in. And I've mentioned this before in other videos, but it gives me such a sense of autonomy over this meat sack. And I just want to look like a badass grandma when I get older and be covered in tattoos. A lot of young people have tattoos. I think the stigma is gradually going away, thank God. Why we would ever pass judgment on someone with art on their body, couldn't tell you. There's a few hard parts with getting tattoos. I think one is finding artists that correlate with your style. Often for me, they're across the globe, in different countries, in California, and I'm not in the position of life quite yet where I can just hop on a plane and go get a tattoo. Another hard part is actually choosing the ideas of what you want. I think this has been a bit of a blocker for me, even though I know I want a lot of tattoos. Like, I want sleeves, I want stomach tattoos, I want leg tattoos. I don't know what the holdup is, other than financial, of course. So I've been working on generating some idea list of things I would potentially want. First would be some fire symbolism. I am a Leo, which is a fire sign, but this would be more so a Hosier tattoo. If you don't know, Hosier is my favorite artist of all time, and he has been for quite some time, but this would represent my favorite song by him, which is Would That I, which has a lot of fire symbolism throughout. Fire is also my favorite smell, so we could have that be a reason too. One of the ideas is to have a match or a candle lit in some fashion, or I was sort of thinking a woman dancing encased in flame, where her hair turns into the flame, but I think that would more resemble the witch hunt and burning people at the stake than the actual element itself. I've also been thinking of venturing down to the legs, because all my tattoos are currently on my arms. I would love daggers of some sort. I was thinking on the front of my shins to have daggers on both shin. I think that would look so sick sticking out of a boot. But when I told this idea to my yoga instructor, she said that first of all, the shins are one of the most painful areas, so that would be a bitch. And also it might be hard to make a straight line on the shins because the bone is sort of bumpy. So I need to chat with my tattoo artist and see what we can get away with, but maybe I'll put them somewhere else on my legs. I also would love a sparrow or matching sparrows of some sort. Years ago, I was thinking of having them right above my hip bones, but I don't know, maybe somewhere on my arm. Let's talk about hair. My hair is one of my most prized possessions. I've worked for a long time to get it to look this good and get decent at styling it. I've been in the mood for a little bit of a change. Also, I want to shout out my hairstylist, JC. You should go follow her on Instagram. She is amazing. She's based in Connecticut, and I take a train all the way from New York City just to see her every 3 months. So if that doesn't speak to her skill, then nothing will. There's sort of 2 desires within me at the moment. One of them is to bleach my hair completely and be an icy blonde, similar to Phoebe Bridgers or Targaryens. I am just obsessed with the look of a white blonde. I think it would work into my aesthetic so nicely, and it's just stunning coloring. Problem with this is, number 1, very expensive to bleach your hair that frequently and do a full foil. Secondly, the breakage would be absolutely insane. My hair would probably grow no longer than shoulder length. Already at the blonde I'm at, it's hard to get it to grow much longer because of how much damage I inflict on it with the bleach and styling my hair so frequently. There's just something calling my name to get this hair color done. I think it's so beautiful, and I think it could look really good on me, so We'll see. Let me know what you think. And then in the complete opposite direction is leaning more into my natural hair color, which is a dirty blonde. You can sort of see it up here. And growing it as long as I possibly can to get sort of those princess curls. There are some cons with this. It will take a very long time. I have a very thick head of hair. Washing that much hair, I'm sure, is a pain in the butt. But I think it could encourage me to embrace my natural curl pattern. You wouldn't know because I never wear my natural curls, but my hair is actually naturally wavy. So if I went with a darker, more natural color, I think those curls would be able to firm up quite a bit more. At my most recent hair appointment, I asked if we could go the more Sophie Thatcher route and have it be more of a shag with thicker bangs. And JC, of course, did an amazing job. I do think it looks a little bit different on a blonde versus her hair is a dark brown. But for the moment, I am very pleased with what it's looking like. Now let's talk about housing, homeware, home style. One of my biggest goals for this year is to get my own apartment, which will be a very huge and expensive feat, and I'm just praying that I can somehow make it work. But if that happens for me or not, I want to refine my living aesthetic. I feel like I've slightly matured past my current homeware style, and I'm ready to invest in higher quality items. For example, I currently have posters on my wall, which is completely fine. I think I'd rather lean into more framed art pieces. Let's start with my bedroom. For the most part, I want to keep the majority of the furniture that I own. I love wooden furniture, so I already have a wooden platform bed, a wooden nightstand, a wooden desk I got all from Urban Outfitters, and even my clothing rack I like aesthetically. Do I wish it was not right next to my bed? Yeah, I do. So hopefully there's a smidge more space in the next place. I think combining the wooden furniture with an antique ornate rug is really beautiful. Not only am I carrying the medieval style through my wardrobe, but also in my homeware style. I love the look of lush, drapey fabrics. I love antique dark wood. Even incorporating some more cream colors into my bedding would be nice. But in terms of what I have now, I think my room needs the least amount of work. So let's talk about the kitchen. Wherever I do end up moving by myself, it'll probably be a very outdated kitchen. For the kitchen, I'm very much French inspired. I love the look of a small wooden circular table with mismatching chairs. Adding 2 candelabras or another centerpiece on the table would be nice. Framed art on the walls again, and one of my goals is to really invest in cutlery sets and cookingware. You know the saying, if you're cheap, you have to end up buying something twice? That is so true with kitchenware. I have bought things over the years, and when they get rusty after a year or two, or they just start to fall apart, it really emphasizes to me that I should invest in the first place. Yes, you might have to spend a little bit more money up front to get the nicer quality products, but it'll be much more worth it in the long run. Now let's talk about the living space. This is one I haven't invested too much time and research into because I'm not even sure if I will have a living space. I might get a studio, which will be just one big room, which I'd just sort of make an extended bedroom. Again, I love dark wood, ornate rugs, art on the walls. If I do have a separate living space, I might put my desk there and use a desktop computer as my TV. When you're working in such small spaces, you have to make little accommodations like this, but I really don't mind. My room has been small since childhood, so I'm just sort of used to it at this point. And lastly, for the bathroom, again, I very much doubt my bathroom will be chic whatsoever. It'll probably be very run down and old, but I already have a shower curtain that I like and will bring with me, and we'll try to incorporate plants as much as possible. Let's talk food, and trigger warning for anyone who struggles with disordered eating of any kind. I will be touching on those topics, so maybe just skip ahead a few minutes if you imagine that could be harmful for you. Personally, I very much struggle with disordered eating on the binging side. I can eat healthy for a few days or a week or maybe even 2 weeks, and then I slip back into familiar comfort foods, which are often processed and not the most healthy for me. Food is something I've struggled with for as long as I can remember, and only do I ever feel like I have a hold on it when I am completely by myself and not influenced by other people, and also completely stress-free. I desperately want to have a healthy relationship with food and foods that are actually good for me. It's easy for me to get lazy and prioritize ease over actually meeting my nutrition goals. Something that helps me a lot is to eat the produce that is in season. What Christine Eats on Instagram always posts seasonal produce produce lists, which I find very helpful. Whenever I'm on my walk to the grocery store, I will pull that up and try and generate some new recipes with the in-season produce. I think one of the keys to eating whole foods is keeping it simple. Things that come straight from the earth. Eggs, vegetables, fruits. I want my plates to have variety and be colorful, but also keep it fresh and new for my palate so I don't get tired of something. Since I do struggle with binge eating, it's really important for me to prioritize lower calorie foods that I can eat a lot of and not feel bad. So something like salads and other vegetables. Not only are those things nutrient dense, but they will fill me up much better than a processed food will. If I do want a sweet treat, which I most surely will be, I have a big sweet tooth, make something myself or go to a local bakery. Candies or other sweet treats you might buy at a grocery store are usually pumped with preservatives to keep them fresh longer. So if you can make it yourself with more natural ingredients, that is definitely the way to go. I get a lot of my food inspiration on Pinterest, as I get the majority of my inspirations, but someone who I follow and love and also lives in my neighborhood is Amy France. Posts a lot of her meals and they always just look appetizing and exciting. I hope one day to not always be at battle with my body and the kind of foods I eat. It is something I struggled with 5 years ago, and it is something I struggle with today. I'm working on it. Next up, in a similar vein, I want to talk about exercise. Again, something I've struggled with for my entire life. And am I somewhat annoyed at myself to wait for the New Year resolution time to be having serious conversations about this? Yes. I'm certainly more prone to burnout when I'm trying to manage all of these new ideas at once. So advice for me and you is to be gentle. Not everything has to happen like that. In terms of exercise, as a child, I was the slowest in the mile. I was not very fit or fast or strong. I was an art kid, I'm gonna be totally honest. I'd much prefer drawing or painting in my room versus playing a sport. As a creative person, that just sort of makes sense. I was better at art and I'm better at being creative versus exercising. But as I live and I'm reaching my late 20s, my health has become a big priority for me and something I want to get a handle on now versus it being too late later in life. If you keep up with my content, you may know that this year has been big for me with yoga. I discovered a studio near me that I absolutely adore. And even though yoga isn't the most challenging form of exercise, I have fallen in love with the movement of it and the mindfulness, but I'm not seeing the results that I want, so I think I need some assist somewhere else. I want to challenge myself a little bit more. I've thought of running, of getting a gym membership, of Pilates, but I always find reasons to not follow through with those things. I've so often tried to be a runner and I've never experienced a runner high. I don't know what crack y'all are smoking to try and convince me that you get a runner's high. Running is so hard for me, but that could be a free option, which would be nice. Getting a gym membership is something that could be expensive. I also feel very clueless in gyms. I don't think I would get an efficient workout because I just don't know how to work all the machines, or I just simply need someone to teach me. And maybe that requires me getting a personal trainer, but my ego sort of has a hard time with that. And Pilates and other workout classes, again, is a more expensive option and something I've never done before. Those reformers scare the hell out of me, but I need to try something and find other ways to move my body and get stronger. And the last thing I want to touch on is reading. Yet another thing that I've struggled with for my entire life. I was always a slow reader. I've always felt stupid in that I could never finish books on time or completely understand them. But the only way I will get better at reading is by doing it. And books can be so magical. My claim to fame is I was ahead of the ACOTAR girlies. I think I started reading the first book in 2017 or 2018. I read it in college and it really made me fall in love with reading again, and you can just get lost in fantastical worlds and it really challenges your imagination in the best way possible. I want to spend less time scrolling on my phone and more time reading new stories and maybe even some academic texts. I want to get smarter and be more thoughtful, and I think reading is one of those best ways. I loved English class in high school and I was a big poetry writer and even won some awards for my poetry. It's something that I would love to get back into and a muscle I'd like to flex. Recently I bought the Bell Jar, and yesterday I just got the Secret History, which everyone is obsessed with this book, so I'm excited to get into it. But if y'all have any recommendations recommendations of books you love. I would love to hear them. I'm definitely in need of some recs, and I hope I read many books this year. That about covers everything that I want to improve or achieve in the year of 2025. I hope this video at least gave you some entertainment, if not inspiration. If you're feeling called to, let me know what your goals are for 2025. I'm wishing you all so much love and fulfillment and inspiration for the new year. If you've made it this far, please subscribe. I would love to have you. I post a video every week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!